Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Wildman Revolution podcast. I am super freaking pumped today because finally, I have my good buddy, Mr. Clint X Morgan on. Aussie rapper, visionary, entrepreneur, father of three, a man on a mission, I would say. So awesome to have you on, brother.
Great to be here, mate. It only took us about 12 months of seeing each other every day to finally make the space for the podcast, but all in perfect timing.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to kick it off with a question. I don't ask many questions really throughout this, but tuning into the Wildman Revolution or Wildman Revolution, what comes through for you?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I think it's coming back to the roots of, being a man and, being an animal. And giving ourselves permission to be an animal, but also live in society and how we live today. And so it's like owning your animalistic, natural way of being, but also okay, cool, I want to buy a Lambo. So let's be wild and do something outrageous, and do whatever we can to support and have these physical toys and things that you want to create in the 3D world. So it's we're a fucking animal, but I want to drive a Lambo.
Yeah, awesome. Do you know what? I'm going to call this episode "We're Fucking Animals."
And we're animals in Lambos.
In Lambos. It's good. I love it. Yeah, it's a great question. I think when we sit with as a man, just to think about if we're really tuning in is to what is to be a man. And for me, it is that inner wild, you could say, that rawness, that realness, that caveman, you could even say, which is a bit wild. And all the work I do is really centered around that with men. And it's been really good to see your journey over the last few years and really ground into now giving back in the men's space and leading in the men's space, and seeing you come so far as a father, watching you have 1, 2, 3 kids, have that on your own. We'll probably get to a bit of that, but then to go, okay, I've got a lot of tools that I've applied in my life and a lot of experience and results and everything that I can now give back to men in a way that's really grounded and powerful. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and what's led you to wanting to lead more?
Yeah, I think it's something that's been present probably about, say, 9 years ago, before I met my now wife, Christy. And one thing that was a real challenge in my life was being able to communicate with women. I could have a woman friend or something, but as soon as I liked her or felt there was a bit of, oh, I like this girl, then I would just become a jittering mess, and I wouldn't know what to say, and I'd get all really awkward, I'd get all really nervous, my palms would go sweaty, and I'd freak out and become not me, some other weird dude. And so my first thing that I wanted to shift within myself after I discovered personal development, I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the power, the magic of thinking big, and just realize holy crap, I can, if I want something, I can change it, I can become that, I can learn that skill set. So I'm okay, well, maybe I just need to learn how to communicate with women. And so that was sort of my first personal development initiation, was discovering how to talk with women, date women, understand women. Actually, that's a lie. That never happens. That's an impossible feat. But just realizing how I could communicate with them effectively. And so I started to learn that, and I got better at that, and I started to go on dates and feel confident in it, and be able to go up to women that I didn't know and spark a conversation, and just got better at it, and realized that I could shift something. And during that, then I also got better at being able to communicate with clients and being able to do sales and communicate effectively. And then when I was a personal trainer, just walk up to random people in an office and offer my services, give out a complimentary training session and have clients come in. And so I built a successful business that way. So I was like I need to teach other men this. And so was something that I wanted to do back then. But then there was also this voice in my head going, nah, you're not ready, bro. Nah, you just work on yourself. It was always came back to like, just work on yourself, just work on yourself. So I just kept doing that. And every now and then it'd come back. It's like, and I'm like, nah, now's not the right time. Just keep working on yourself. And I did. I worked on myself. I worked on my business. I created success in my business. I got married. I had 3 kids. Which, like you said, is madness. And it wasn't until last year when my brother, my older brother Arlen, he was 2 years ago he was diagnosed with cancer, and then unfortunately late last year he passed away. And so as challenging as that was, it really made me realize that, like, it was just when that happened, I was like, nah, now's the time. Like I'm ready. Like I've done the work. I feel ready. And I also saw like the pain that Arlen was going through. And, I feel like it could have been avoided. Obviously it happened, and, it was a wake up call for me and, like my whole community and whole family. But I feel like there's some things that, could have been avoided if, there was, I guess, focus on different areas, making sure that there wasn't the financial stress, bringing more things into alignment, processing emotions, and honoring yourself. I feel like some of those things could have been avoided. And so, I'm like, no, now's the time. There's men out there that need, this work and need the support of me. And like, if I look at my life now compared to what it was, 8 years ago, it's chalk and cheese on how I show up and how I feel within myself and how I honor myself and give myself the space, and have created a kingdom. And so, I'm like, nah, now's the time to step into that. And I do feel like there's some support there, or there's like a bit of a co-creation going on with my brother at the same time. It's sort of like, he's sort of supporting me from wherever he is in whatever way. And I feel his presence there. And so, I feel like it's sort of being guided, but now's the time.
Yeah. It's super powerful, man. And your journey has been like sort of intimate, close by, like being involved with a lot of it, and being connected to your family and seeing the amazing things your family coming together over the last few years to not only support Arlen, but as a family just to come together and heal. It was really inspiring to see, because I know there's a lot of families out there that have got disconnection and all this sort of stuff, and there's a lot of differences, and a lot of families grow apart and divorces and all the different things. But to see the example that I feel your whole family set in a time that was challenging was very, very inspiring and very powerful. And for me, that culminated in the event you ran last year, like Own Your Beat, Heal a Brother. That was by far the highlight of my year, from just the power and the energy of everything involved. Not only were you center stage, like bringing your raps out, like in the intro, I highlighted you're an Aussie rapper. I'm growing on the rap music, but that event was so powerful and so unique and so different. And it was just before Arlen passed too. And I think even I look from my perspective, the timing and everything for all of that, it was really, really sort of, in a way, although sad and like there's a lot of grief and loss involved, at the same time, it was so powerful for not just you and your family. Like I saw 100 people in the room, like literally cracked open and their hearts open, and it was so powerful and healing. So again, a highlight for me to witness and be a part of that. How was that for you? Like the lead up to that, oh my God, I'm gonna bring this to life, and then thereafter.
Yeah, it was. It came through like, it was my brother. Where was he? Yeah, that's right. So he was on his healing journey, and he discovered, and we created this epic dynamic because when he was diagnosed, I was like, okay, how can I support him? And I'd spent years in, I guess, in the realm, and like my friends, and you and I, Steve, is like, you look at the people that we associate with, it's like, we know that anything's possible, and we know that, we're sovereign beings, and that like disease is something that it can be shifted. It's here to give us a lesson, or some meaning in it, or it's here to wake us up, and so, and we're the creators of that. And so if we can create it, we have also the power to change. And so, I believe that anything is possible, and, miracles are real. And so, we have the power to heal through our own, thought or intention or mind, or, whatever that is. And so I was like, okay, how can I support him? And so a good brother of mine was like, Dr. Joe Dispenza, check out him. And I'd heard of him before. I'd done a couple of his meditations, but I hadn't really delved into his work. So I, looked at what's a good starting point. I bought Alan, my brother, the book. I read it for myself, got the family on board, and we did. We all of a sudden, we started doing like a family weekly meditation. So we jump on a call once a week, and we do one of Joe Dispenza's meditations. And it sort of brought the family together. And now we've gone from just, a family doing our own thing to now once a week, or actually it turned to twice a week, once with my mum and my siblings, and once with my dad and my siblings. We're jumping on meditating together with the intent to like support Arlen and, have a vision where we see him healed. And so, it created this awesome dynamic. But then he started to, what seemed on the outside, he was happier in himself. Like he wasn't working. He was just focused on, he was meditating sometimes 2-3 hours a day. Like he was on this mission, and he was, wanting to heal. He cleaned up his diet, and, just seeing that within himself. Of course, he had cancer, and there was the potential of dying right there, which was challenging. So he was confronted with that. But there was this underlying current where it's like he seemed happier within himself. And so, but then like he sort of took a bit of a turn, and, he did a scan, and the cancer had grown. And from that, it's like he went downhill, like in a sense, like you just tell he was just felt defeated. And it's sort of like, he's like, fuck, I'm just not sure if I can do this anymore. And so I was like, well, what else can I do? How can I support? And, it's just a question I guess I constantly ask myself. I'm like, should I do more? Should I be down there? Should I be, is there anything else I can do? And then one night I had written this song called Brother, which I wrote for Arlen. This is back when he was early diagnosed. And it was just this beautiful track that sort of just came out of me, and I was sharing about, just the confrontation of that call when he told me how it felt, like reflecting on, when we're younger, our parents breaking up when we're young, like the challenge within that, he was in WA, there was all the COVID stuff happening, so I couldn't go over and see him, the frustration with the freaking, the BS that was, COVID and all that crap. And so, and then also like having the intention of like future pacing him healing, seeing him healed, and like reflecting back on the cancer of being this like pivotal time in his life that shifted, him into his vision and his mission. And so I wrote this track. And so I was one night, and sort of had this news. I was like grieving heavily, and just thinking like far out, like this could be the last moments that I'm here with my brother. And I'm playing the track, and I was in my living room, and I just started rapping out this track, and just like this, as if I was like taken out of my body there, dropped into a full stadium of like 100,000 people, and I was rapping Brother, and it was so real. And as I'm sharing this, I'm getting goosebumps as if I'm feeling it again. I was there and I was rapping it, and I saw my brother in the stadium, and he was healed. And I was like, as soon as I saw that, I felt that, I was just tears, and it was so real, it was so freaking real, that after it, I was like, you know what, I've got to do this event. And, I'm like, I think a stadium right now might be a bit of a stretch based on the audience and, me as a rapper. I'm not a Queen just yet. But I was like, okay, what if I just start with, 100 people, 100-person event? And so I booked a venue. I spoke to you about it, Steve. I was like, dude, this is what I'm thinking. You're like, bro, that sounds epic. That was a real important piece, because, I was like, yeah, maybe should I do it? And when you were like, yeah, man, that sounds dope. Like, and I know you're really tuned into energy in that. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I made the decision, booked the venue, you know, gather people there, told my brother about it. And the cool thing is that, you know, my brother's a little bit, you tell him something like that, he's like, oh, I don't know, bro. Like, you know, it sounds a bit weird, because the intention, I'm like, you know, this is the idea. It's own your beat. It's about like expression and doing the thing that you want to do. It's about, you know, doing that thing that's on your heart. It's about stepping out, which for me, it's rapping. You know, it's me stepping into music. But for the person that's there, it could be starting a new business, going on a new venture, like next leveling your brand, or becoming a musician, or whatever that thing is. That's, you know, we've all got something on our heart that we know we want to do, but we don't do it for whatever reason. We hold ourselves back. And so the idea is like to own your beat, and then heal a brother was the second intention of the event. So I saw my brother healed, and the intention was like have a group of people let's give Arlen energy. So I told him about it, and he's like, yeah, all right, I'll be there. And he was so in. I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, cool, let's do it. Anyway, so I set the date, had everything going, started selling tickets. And not long after that, he went into hospital he's had cancer in his stomach. And so it made his bowel twist. And so he had a twisted bowel. And so he went in, he had a surgery. And, so then he was in hospital. So the event was still going on. I'm like, do I still do it or not? And it got to a point where he was just fading away. He couldn't walk. He couldn't get out of bed. And so, there was no chance of him coming up for the event. And it was looking like he was going to pass away. And so, but I'm like, I still need to do this event. So I'm like, well, what if I just get a life-size cutout of him? So I got a full-size printout of him, put him at the front of the stage, and I zoomed him in. So I got a camera at the front, and I zoomed him in. And so I was performing as if he was there, and, speaking to him on the camera. He was in a bed in hospital, and then I had the crowd there. And and Steve was the MC, and it was just like Steve said, just the energy. I think with the intention, it was my first ever concert, and I just it was like one of the best feelings I've ever felt. Like I just felt so on purpose, on point, like I was in the right place at the right time. Like the energy and everything was just in full alignment. And I feel like I had my DJ there and producer who'd been working with the music. And he'd never seen me perform live before. And so for him, he was like, dude, like you really have something here, what you've created, and the community that you brought together, because it was because of the community as well that made it. Like we have a really powerful community of like-minded people. And so like everything together, I really feel that like it was, and he died about, I think it was 10 days after the event. Yeah, it was on the 27th of October. He died on the 6th of November. And, I really feel it was, and I've talked to some friends of mine that are like medium and psychics and things like that. And they're like, what you did for your brother and that energy that was created there, would have helped him in his transition, onto the other side. And I really feel like it was sort of like a send off. And, whether he consciously received anything or not, there was something on a deep soul level that, would have helped and supported him in his healing and in his transition. And not just him, like me as well. Like I know it was definitely I'm so grateful that I freaking did it. And the timing of it was just, like you said, it was just so perfect. And I couldn't have planned it better. And not that I was just sort of picking dates and doing it. And it just, everything sort of flowed. And I really feel like it was a really deep closure piece for myself and probably for my brother as well. It's hard to say because he's not here, but I really feel like it was it all lined up perfectly.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. The only thing that could go in the planning that could be better, let the MC know a few more days earlier than 4. MC.
That's all you need, Steve. That's all you need.
It was the thought of having all that significance, it just got me over the line, man. No, it was very powerful. And again, witnessing the whole thing. I've been to a bunch of like events, if you want to put it under the category also of a personal development event as well, because as you said, the intention was anyone there, own your beat, open up. Here you were with the heal their brother intention, but being able to sort of get everyone into their heart, everyone into their body, and to really open up in that way. There was the other intention that I've never been at an event where everyone in the room was involved in everything. even when you were rapping, even though I'm still growing to like rap and all that sort of stuff, but with the energy and the passion and everything you bring it, everyone in the place was involved. And I've never seen that before and never felt that before. And that's why I was really glad it was like a more of an intimate event, even though it was 100 people. I think that made it even more powerful, because even with 5 people come together with a shared intention, if the energy's right and it's in there, that can create a huge difference. But with 100 people, the whole place was just vibrating. And I think they wanted more. When Johnny Sonic come on the end, everyone's like, "No, we just want more. We want more." And I think that was really cool, man. And I think, again, although there was a part to it that where it could have been seen as sad and everything, I think the timing was perfect and the intent was met. And it was so good to see, and I'm excited about the next one. Whether you do bring another one to life, do you feel you're going to have another on your beat event?
I think it's closer than we realize. And like I went out to, where did I go? Kyogle on the weekend, and I went out there, and yeah, that's right. I had this, yeah. So I'll share the story. So I went out there, and I get to this. We'd been there. I hadn't been to Kyogle for. No, that's not Kyogle. It's not Kyogle. I can't think of the town. Anyway, it's a town you go out past, like Chillingham and out that way.
Tyagle.
Yeah, Tyogle.
Like yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so it's out there. It's just this little pub, and there's a cafe there. It's just one little strip. And, I went out there, and I'd sort of been thinking about it, in your beat, what's the next thing? I'm sort of thinking like a day festival thing. Anyway, I get there, and there's all these like outdoor seats, and then there's this big stage at the end. And I was like, wow. I was like, you could probably do and own your beat here. Like, there's something that's outdoor. I'm like, I don't have to overthink it. Like, it's just like 100 people was epic. I'm like, if I just had 100 people again, you can think bigger, it's going to be a stadium, whatever, but like 100 people that are there, they're in the same energy, they're rocking it out, they're having a good time. Like, it's all you really need. Of course, more might be more powerful, but it's like, it's still amazing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to suss it out. So anyway, I talked to the lady there, and she was like, I said, do you guys do events? So can you hire out the space? She said, yeah, contact the functions team. And there's this other little restaurant, cafe up the road, which we wanted to go to because they did this like epic brisket, but they were closed. And so Christy, my wife, was upset because she loves the brisket. And so, anyway, we went to this other pub thing where they had this stage thing. We're just sitting there, and there's a little pool. So the kids were in the pool, and this lady was there, and she was sort of like, she just kept looking at us. And I think because we've got 3 kids, and the kids are like crazy doing all weird stuff. Like, it is, you watch people watch us, they're fascinated because we've got 3 kids under 5. Just sort of just looking at us, and she came over, and I just said something to her, and then I asked her if she's local, and she asked where we were from. We just moved into the area, and she goes, oh, I actually run the general store, the cafe. And I was like, oh, cool. We wanted to go down there for the beef brisket. And she said, oh yeah, we closed. She said, but then she mentioned that she's looking for, they want to open later on a Sunday, but they want to have some live performances. I said, oh, I'm a rapper. She goes, oh, really? She goes, we're looking for, some musicians from around the area. And I was like, oh, and she goes, maybe we can exchange details. I was like, yeah, I'm open to that. I said, oh, I'm Clint. And then she goes, oh, I'm Rebel. And I was like, Rebel? I was like, I got a song called Rebel. And she's like, oh, no way. So anyway, I talked to her, and yeah, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, did you sing a bit to her on the spot? Because you do
to all my rebels.
You do have a tendency to just drop a rap when you feel like it, or put yourself in the center. I have a fun story. I won't share it here, but Rebel, that's good. It sounds epic. I like it out there. It's a great energy out there, but they like little confirmations and signs you get along the way.
Yeah. So she talked about it, and she goes, oh, I said, what, how's swearing? She goes, oh, no, it's a, and I'm like, oh, that rules out all my songs. So I'm not sure if I'm going to play there, but for me, it was just, it's just one of those things that's confirmation. So, I think what I want to do is, because it was awesome there, but I like the non-alcohol event. But when it's at a bar, it's obviously people are drinking in that. And I think that's what made it special, was that you said everyone was involved, and that's what I like about the event is like, how can everyone how can everyone have the experience where it's like everyone's doing it together? So it becomes not just a concert, it's a ceremony. It's like a sacred ceremony where, if we're having a cacao, everyone does it together. We're having some chocolate, everyone does it together. Where, we're setting an intention, or we're doing a meditation, or we're doing some qigong or whatever. It's like we're in a song, we're experiencing it together instead of like people at the bar, like having side conversations, getting drunk and things like that. There's a place for that, but I feel like what would be more powerful is like having a similar space set up where it's just on land, and whether this is like, we find someone with a few acres and then setting up a stage and then having it, off grid in the bush, but it's like, a day festival, and you could even bring your kids and things like that. So that's what I'm feeling. Haven't set the date yet, but it's definitely in the cards and in the field.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and it's definitely a standout, and it's very unique in both the entertainment space, I think, the music industry, if you want to, and like I know, being like even calling yourself a rapper and bringing out more songs. I am wondering when the album's on the way, because you've got enough really good songs there. But yeah, the festival sounds really, really cool, and I think it's aligned too. I think the energy that could be cultivated out there and harmonized in nature, I think it'll be really unique and powerful too.
For sure.
Let's transition a little bit, because we could talk about this stuff all day, as with everything. The men's work, man. Let's back to the men's work. Again, you're a father of 3. You've been traveling the world, really. You're very successful in business, both you and your wife, Christy. 3 kids under 5. I get to witness a lot of the chaos, but at the same time, I get to witness a lot of the cool stuff that comes with that. You've just landed in a new home. Do you feel like this landing in a new home after traveling for a long time and being here, there, and everywhere, do you feel like you're grounding in for the next phase where you're sort of serving on this different level and serving men? Do you feel that's part of the puzzle that's landed in?
Yeah, I think we've been very nomadic, you could say. And, I think sort of finding where we want to be and where we want to live, and finding a space that's like quieter but has a really good energy. And I think that it's definitely the Northern Rivers. Like that's where we feel at home. We feel like anytime we go away, like we love the Sunshine Coast. It's great. I like Gold Coast. It's nice. But there's just something about the Northern Rivers. Like when you drive, say we go to the Sunny Coast, we love going up there for a holiday or something. Christy's parents live up past north there, so we go and meet them and go up there regularly to Noosa and things like that. And it's always great. And we're always like, oh, should we live up here? But there's like something that's like, nah. It's and you feel it as soon as you drive back down the Northern Rivers. You're like, yeah, this is it. This is home. But we've sort of been finding our feet with that, and we bought a house last 2 weeks ago. We settled 2 weeks ago, and it was something deep happened. I feel when it was our own home, and I think like being in a rental, having 3 kids, like you're forever, especially like we've been in furnished places, like the kids are drawing on the lounge, or they got the Play-Doh out, or you leave a room, you come back and they've graffitied all the chairs, and you're like, fuck, like that's thousands of dollars, every time. So you feel like you're a little bit on edge. And so now being in my own house, it's like you still care about everything, and it's your stuff. So you want to protect it and keep it nice, but it's like it's relaxed that it is mine. If I ruin it, it's mine. So I think there's that little element which is good. But I think just like buying a house, and there's something about like the groundedness, like you said, that comes with that. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I don't have to move out of here in 6-12 months. I'm going to be here, and I have this house for many years. And so it makes me look at the community where we've bought in as like, okay, well, I can see the growth that's happening here. I can see, like the city expanding out, and so the population growing here. And so, there's a real opportunity. And so like, I want to contribute to that opportunity and be part of that growth and that expansion. And yeah, and I think, yeah, and then yeah, the community events and having a place like it's sort of like a layer. I feel that's come, yeah, with at the time and also the men's work, yeah, for sure.
The rich mystic man. That's the course. It's sort of like your embodiment, yeah. And it's come from that. Do you want to talk about, yeah, well, what is the rich mystic man, and yeah, what does that mean for men or even for you?
Yeah, so it's sort of like just the name that just popped in, probably about a year ago. And I actually did this course with what's his name? Fuck. His name. Yes. Yeah. I did this course with Dane Thomas, and yeah, and he just was talking about stepping into an identity. And he was talking about he's the millionaire artist. And I was like, what's my identity you want to step into? And I'm like, yeah, the rich mystic. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, the rich mystic. And I was like, all right, let's do that. Anyway, so just playing with that. And then I was like, it sort of just was the rich mystic, and I'm stepping into that. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's a mad name for a program. Like imagine the rich mystic program or something. And then when the man thing happened, I'm like, oh my crap, the rich mystic man. And I said it, and I shared it with Chrissy. She's like, oh, that's hot. And I started sharing it with like Steve and other people. And anytime I shared it with everyone, everyone's like, oh, epic. And even people were like, damn, I wish I had a thought of that name. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's a cool name. It hits the mark. And like you said, it's been my experience. And so it's the three elements. So it's the mystic, it's the rich, and it's the man. And so, like the man is honoring the animal part of ourselves, and the part of us that just wants to live in nature, or hunt, or just be around other people, or be in a tribe and really be connected to our roots as an animal, and understanding like the masculine, feminine, dynamic, and those different energies, and how to utilize both of them and balance them out and integrate them between the two of us. The man, so it's like discipline and focus and structure and getting stuff done, understanding our human design, and also our body, really nourishing our body and our vessel, because there's only we have a capacity, and if we're clogged up and we're not in our optimum within our body, then we're not going to be able to hold as much money, or hold as much, be able to serve as many clients, or have as big a capacity as what we would if our vessel was really clear. So that's the man element. And then we've got the mystic, which is really understanding your higher purpose, your spiritual aspect, your spirit, being guided by that intuition, understanding like, past lives and things like that, and how they play a part and an effect in your life. And just, really, for me, like spirituality is being, which also is crosses over from the man, but just, being present with your emotions. Like what are those emotions? Like what is coming up? Because it's like, I realize you can't control your emotions, but you can allow them to be there and give them some space and witness them. And, through that, they begin to move and dissolve. And so, I know you're really great at this, bro. It's like, when you emotions start packing up, or your capacity gets full, and you're like, fuck, I just need to go away for a few days. And you go away, you go fishing, and, by yourself or the river, and you come back a new man. So it's like, how can we identify, these times in our life where, and give ourselves that space? And I think you're a great example of that. And have been a really powerful influence on that for me, is like, recognizing that and taking that time. And then, because otherwise, if you don't, it gets full, get snappy with your kids, snappy with your wife, frustrated by money, everything becomes a lot. So your whole reality is just, it's hard and it's frustrating. So by taking some space out, it's not going to cure it. It could be some deeper stuff there that needs to be addressed, but it's a space you can go and vent, or, refill up your cup. So that's sort of the mystic element. And then the rich, money, baby. We all need money. I don't know anyone that doesn't need money for something in their life. And so I know that, people that I associate with, and people that I see in my sphere, and, people that are on that, I guess, conscious path, you could say, they would only do good with money. You know, they're not going to use it for evil like some other people on the planet. And so, like, what if we, you know, I think there's a saying, it's like if the conscious community in the world all became millionaires overnight, like the planet would shift like that, you know, because we'd use that money to, you know, contribute to society, to serve humanity, to make better systems and structures and things that serve and, you know, integrate nature and humanity and the planet and everything all together. And so, like, yeah, there's a focus on, you know, business and branding and wealth creation and sales and marketing and activating that rich element. So we've got the man, we've got the mystic and the rich, and, you know, you work on them in those three different elements together, and that creates what I'd say is an integrated, you know, rich mystic man.
Yeah. Cheers to that breakdown. Cheers to the compliments too. I'll take all them on board. and and it's funny you mentioned the time away or anything like that. It doesn't fix anything. It's not avoidance, but it's definitely something I know. Me as a man, I identified early on, and even my beautiful Queen Chi. Once she understood why I was going to the bush for 3 or 4 days by myself, and there was no bush lady out there or anything like that, and she got over her own stuff around that, she's sort of my indicator for that now too. Like, I might be getting at the point where when what I've noticed, the bigger game I've wanted to play, the bigger results I wanted to call in or anything like that, and especially when it's coming to help more people, like, it's really easy for my container to be full. And last year was definitely I was shown this more, it was more in my face than ever. And I am so grateful that I know in the relationship that we've come to an understanding of, like, I do need to fill my cup really consistently. And again, with that comes too, I go to the bush and I've got my practices and my processes, and I can't fix everything myself. I'm aware that my conscious and all that's going to block a bunch of shit, and there's deeper work to do. But it's like that circuit breaker. It's like that circuit breaker where I do bring some focus back to myself, like fill my cup, do things I love. But at the same time, it's like I get to chill a bit. I get to come out of like that scenario, the environment, and look at it from the outside. And when I go back into that, nothing's fixed because nothing was broken. But then I can look at it through a new set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes, have my energy charged, that if I am still triggered or confronted by things, like, okay, I can navigate this a bit better. And that's why I just see so many men, if they just took that one thing on board in their life, they would navigate life so much better. Is that what you're finding by like implementing that in your life too?
Yeah. And I think, like, it's like you said, it's, you know, like, it was only a few weeks ago, and I was getting snappy with the kids. You know, there was a lot with Arlen and getting the house, and, you know, like, it was so much. And, you know, and Chrissy's like, babe, I think you need to have a couple of days away. And I was like, because we're on the same page, and because we've shared that this is, and she sees the effect that has on me when I go away for a couple of days. And plus having you guys in our life, like, you know, Steve and Chi, and, you know, you guys had really, I guess, led in this area and seeing what it does for your relationship. And so, definitely, it's sort of something that she will recognize if I don't recognize it first. And she said, I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. Okay, I need to get out of here. And then, so, you know, just going. So it's something that needs to be established. And, you know, it's not just me, you know, like, it's like, all right, well, Christy also, she needs that space for herself, you know. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, what can you do for a couple of days or whatever time it is? And Christy's actually going to Dubai for 10 days and in about a month. So then I'm planning my 10 days when she gets back.
I love how you guys take it to the extreme. It's like 3 days. It's like 10 days in Dubai.
Well, that's what Christy said. She's, because I was like, oh, I don't know, Darla, like, that's pretty big. And she's like, but I haven't had like a night. I think she's had a night away, like, without Ruby, because our youngest is 1 year. She's like, I haven't had a night away in like 18 months. I'm like, okay. Well, how about you have a night away? You don't have to have 10. You know, that's like, it's taking it to the extreme. But that's what Christy does. So
yeah. And I think for the men and the women listening out there, I think to come to a point in a relationship where you can have them conversations, and so they do bring up stuff. I know with Chi and I early on, it brings up stuff when you're new in a relationship and you're like, hey, But the more you know yourself and what fills your cup, or what your process is, or what you need to do to navigate or just feel your way through something, when you can come together in a relationship, I think that's what makes the relationships really strong. Like she and I even like do our best to plan around her cycle and all this stuff, which might sound like a lot for men and women out there to do, but I promise you it's worth the work. It is so worth the work. Not only are you getting to know yourself more in the relationship, the more you know yourself and you're feeling whole in yourself. When there are stressful or challenging times, which there are, let's face it, the world on the outside is a bit chaotic, and it comes into our worlds every now and then. We're playing in business, working, serving people, and all that. Shit can get hectic, but it's in them times where it gets challenging and hectic. If you have these understandings, you have these tools, you could say, at your disposal, and you go, no matter what's going on, even if the money hasn't come in this week, even if, oh shit, I'll be working really, really hard, and if I just work another week, no. Like if you honor these things and you got that understanding, it helps so much. And then you throw the kids into the mix and they pick up on all our stuff. Well, we got one, and I think he's just amplified for the version of 3 or 4 kids. But I think that's really powerful for everyone out there. And going back to the rich mystic man and them elements you cover, I know there's going to be a lot of value in the tools that you do teach for other men to take on board, to be able to navigate life better. Well, whatever they resonate with, the rich or the mystic or the man or all three or anything like that. And is that the intent of what you're doing with this for men's work too, to give them embodiment tools, or give them perspectives, you could say, or take on board what they want?
Yeah, I think it's like the way I really see it is, it's empowering men to, take their own journey and be their own expression of the rich mystic man. And I don't want to tell, and I think, you've been a great example of this, and we both like really live by this, is that, how I live my life is different to how you live your life. There can be same principles, and we're still human, we're still men. We want to impact the planet, we want to create money, we want to help people. It's like there's a lot of similarities, but how you show up and lead your life is different to how I show up and lead my life. How I father is different to how you father. How I, in my relationship is different to how you're in your relationship. So it's about like honoring your own unique path, but essentially, in essence, it's coming back to that, like, what is that? What is my inner guidance? How do I really back myself and trust myself and become like the authority within my own life, and step up and lead in those 3 different areas and elements. And so I feel good within my body. I feel healthy. I feel I have energy. Like I have the capacity to lead. I understand, when it's time to work and when it's time to rest. And I understand that there's a higher purpose, and there's mystical experiences that are unfolding and happening for me, and trusting and being guided by that and following that and trusting in your intuition. And then also, like creating wealth, or, having a rich experience of life. And to me, it really, like, that comes down to money and freedom, when you were talking before about like creating the space and going away, it's like, we've created a life where that's possible. Like I run my own schedule. Like I don't have someone telling me when or where that I need to be at work. I create that for myself. I create my life and my business. And so, there's a level of sovereignty that I've created in my own life. So, to me, that's being rich and creating a life of freedom and abundance, and having the money to, do stuff which you're aligned with, not having to check your schedule or your bank account to do it. And so to me, that's rich. So it's sort of like a sovereignty within those 3 different areas.
Yeah, and it's a good point there too. I do, and even a lot of the men that I work with are in their jobs or their careers, and they don't see a way out. They're not even really looking for it because they don't know what's possible. And I even look at my if I go back through my career, I didn't think that was possible either. But one of the things that I value the most now is that being able to, I get to book my own schedule too. I don't think there's anything more liberating and freeing than that. And sometimes it does come to the, say, detriment of maybe a bit of income or something like that or that. But I prioritize my values, my time with my son especially, and my queen, Chaitanya, doing the things I love. That comes first. And it's been fascinating, the shift from my working a job, even though I was successful in a job, making a lot of money in the mines and position of like authority and stuff, but to shift the mindset over the last probably 8 or so years, and it's still a working process, to actually be able to feel that liberation, like on the daily when shit's hard or anything. But what's come with that, I've noticed in the last couple of years, is like more abundance, more wealth, more richness, you could say, in all areas. It has taken work and it continues to take work. And I think that scares a lot of men out there, especially who are in a job now. It's like, but I'm already working. I'm already working like 6 days a week. What I would invite, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is the men out there listening, even the women, like, what if you were like, okay, cool. You go, for the next couple of years, I understand that I need an income or providing that, but I'm going to get a little bit outside of my box. I'm going to start prioritizing my passions and my joy and my family a bit more and see what happens to that job, but see what other opportunities come my way. It doesn't have to be this, I think you can tell people to just jump, but at the same time, we've got to be real about this. What would you speak to like people out there around that, listeners and viewers, about maybe the work that it's taking? Because you've been on this journey for a number of years, Matt, to get to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like for me, I sort of took the leap and I just dived into it, but at that time I didn't really, this is years ago, 2008, when I became a personal trainer. And, I had a job, I quit it. I had a $4,000 credit card. I'm like, yeah, that'll do me if I need it. And there's a bit of extra money and I'm just going to, give this personal training thing a crack. And so I guess it put a rocket up my butt to make it happen. And yeah, like I used that credit card and, I probably racked up a little bit of debt, but it got me into a place of like, yeah, I was booking my own schedule and I was working my own hours. So it was a bit of a leap. And I'm like, if I was to look at, let's say I'm in my situation now where I have 3 kids and, maybe I've got a mortgage, I've got a car repayment, I'm supporting my wife because she's at home with the kids. For me to just jump with a $4,000 credit card, it's probably not the smartest thing to do, So I think you got to base it on your current situation. What's your risk tolerance? Because for me, it's like from that point that there was many times where I was broke. Like I may have made some money, and there was times where I was struggling, and I was like, it was a lot, but for me it was a driver, and it got me into it helped me feel what I needed to feel around some of this lack stuff. So I remember at that time, like I would freak out going to the supermarket just to do $100 grocery shop. Would just bring up so much stuff. Like, is the money going to bounce? Like, oh my God, do I really want to spend $4 for an avocado? Or can I get them cheaper here? Or it was an anxiety filled experience. And so I was able to move through a lot of the stuff I have around money and wealth to step into like where I am now in terms of money. But I think, to answer your question, it's like, just start little by little. Maybe there's an hour a week that you can like dedicate to yourself. And it doesn't have to start with going away for a few days. Maybe it's just going for a walk by yourself on a Friday afternoon, for example. All right, honey, when I get home, this is my time. Can you just handle the kids for an hour? I just want to go for a walk into nature and just go down and meditate, or just go for a walk, or just be in your own energy. So it can start piece by piece, but the more you start to do it, just little bits, instead of going, okay, when I'm working for myself, then I'll do it. It's never going to happen. So start to integrate it and work it in with your current life, and it'll gradually transition into that over time, where you say, okay, I'm just going to start with Friday hour. And I'm just making something up. It could be the morning, could be a Saturday morning, could be any time. Just giving yourself that little piece. and then it'll continue to grow. All right, well, what if I did 2 hours? Okay, all right, babe, what if I did a weekend away every 90 days? You know, how can we work that into the schedule? Okay, cool, let's make that happen. So, every 90 days, you got a weekend away, and then you can start to, you know what I mean? It's just sort of step by step, piece by piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice there too. Like, you got to take in your situation. Like, when I jumped from the mines, I was done, but I was like burnt out, just over it. I just had no inspiration even to go away by myself. I had all the time in the world. And the first year when I just saw a vision of something, when I started working on myself, was the first step. But then I just got a vision of something that was very different than the paradigm I was in. I just got hungry. Now, it was definitely not rainbows and unicorns. I racked up heaps of debt. I had my parents support me, all these things behind the scenes, but I was just so hungry because I was like, holy shit, I didn't know this world existed, but I needed to be available to do that. I needed to be able to pause, and it didn't happen as soon as I jumped. Like, it was a wake-up call for me. Like, I lost one of my best mates in the mines to suicide, like probably 2 years before I actually took the jump. So my process started long before that. I was looking at little things. I was checking out other stuff. I was like, why are these people so happy? I was starting to like basically stalk, but it was this process as well. And again, even since then, like, I've had to fall back on a job. I've had to go back and do some work with the skills I've got to support me financially. And the stuff, I totally resonate with going to a supermarket. Going in, not the $4 avocados, it's like the $4 raspberries or something like that. But it's real stuff that we face. We're like real, and I think a lot of people out there, when they are confronted by that, because they don't have the tools, or they don't have the support network, or the environment, or even the hunger or the vision that there's something more or greater that would be more aligned, they just give up. And I see it a lot. But again, it's why I'm wrapped. You're jumping more into the men's work, and you're really putting it out there, because you've got a huge network that is already there. I believe, has been waiting for you to do this. And it's so good to see. And I think at the timing of the world, and this is going to segue into my last question, because again, we could go for ages with this, but it's been super awesome, by the way, is like, the state of the world right now, we have not had models of men in like positions of authority for a long time that are, you could say, whole or integrated or healthy. We've had Hollywood actors, we've got politicians, we've got some sports people and all this. Like, I'm not going to diss them all, but we really haven't had these models of men. And I think the timing of the chaotic world right now, for us men to be stepping into something more, the men are ready. Again, it segues into a sort of question with the state of the world. Not that we focus too much on it, we're across it, but where do you see the world being in 12 months? More importantly, what do you see your role being in 12 months from now?
Good question. I'll start with the world. Yeah, so I think like the world is really waking up, and I feel like I see it within our community, and I do see the split. It's like, there's a conversation around like a global recession, a depression, financial struggle, raising in interest rates, which is definitely a real thing, and I look at our properties that we own, and I'm like, far out, like how does people that are on sort of like a median wage, like how the heck do they afford this? Like we're making good money. So it's like, a lot of people would be struggling within that. So that there is this reality, and there is, a lot of struggle that happen, and people that are going to be hurting, over the next 12 months. But I think at the same time is like, there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of wealth, and you hear of people that they've talked about this, and you hear personal development people, and I haven't really worked or been through like a big recession before, but it's like a lot of people will say is like a lot of millionaires are made through a recession, through these challenging times, and you hear of people like in a recession where they can't get a job, there's no jobs, then you hear of someone else that's working 2-3 jobs, It's like, well, what's the difference? They're both in the same recession. They're both in the same world. Why does one guy have 2 or 3 jobs and one guy has none? And it's like, it just really comes down to your mindset and how you view the world. And so you can see the world full of opportunity, which I think that's what we're witnessing now. Is like there's a rise, there's, you know, people coming together, there's a surge of money, there's, you know, shifting into alternate currencies, there's like a real need for men to step up and for men to rise. Like for what you shared is like, there hasn't really been that many strong male role models. And I think like the women have, over the last few years, have really stepped up a lot. And so, but I think sort of the men have been, you know, having their own little, what's going on here with the women. But I think now, and if I see this within our community, we do have a lot of women, successful women that are doing really well. But now, like it's like the men are coming back, you know, like where it's our time for us to step up. And I think we've been going through a bit of a purge and just, you know, coming away from that, you know, ego driven, you know, type of leadership that we've seen, that sort of, it devalues our body. It devalues the planet that we're living on. It devalues everyone else and just really thinking of yourself. And so it's an emergence of like a real integrated man, you know, someone that considers the whole, someone that really, you know, nourishes their body and, you know, is integrated from their masculine and their feminine, and, you know, there's a balance of how they show up, and it's not all go, 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 go. It's like, no, let's really come back to our roots. Let's come back to nature, to community. So I really feel that's going to just become more and more rich over the next 12 months. And was there a second part to the question? Oh,
what do you see your role being?
My role. Well, yeah, I think I feel it's you know, when you're in it, like when you're in your life, it's just your life, you know, and it takes sort of like an outside perspective, or for you to sit back and reflect on where you were, where I was 8 years ago, to look at my life now. And it's like, I do live a pretty freaking cool life, you know, like I have a successful business. We make a lot of money. We have, you know, a great relationship with my wife. I have 3, you know, healthy kids. You know, we have support from our community. We have a really amazing, you know, community of friends. You know, this is me working. I'm just jumping on a podcast, having a chat with a mate, you know. And so like I truly love what I do. And so, you know, I look at my life now, and I do live in a state of freedom and sovereignty and wealth and abundance. And so, you know, I feel like it's time for me to, I guess, own that and share that, and, you know, be an example of what's possible for other men and women. And just, and I do that through my own expression. So like music, when I said about owning your beat, like, you know, for me, like me owning my beat is stepping into music and stepping into the unknown, and giving myself permission to be a rapper when, you know, 3 years ago, this wasn't even a thing that I thought was possible. But here I am, like, you know, giving it a crack and creating songs. And, you know, I've got Johnny, you asked about the music. I've got Johnny, my producer, coming up next, not this weekend, the weekend after. We've got a place in the Northern Rivers, and we're writing 3 or 4 new songs together. And so then I'm going down the next month to go and produce them. So there's more tracks that are coming out. And, but yeah, I think just by me leading my own life, and that's all we can do, me leading my own life, and then, you know, holding the baton down for another brother, you know, I feel like, leadership role within that, you know, guiding the rich mystic man.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Johnny's coming up, produce a song. We're going to have a Wildman Revolution song. Get the boy band going.
Yeah, still.
This has been an epic interview, mate. We could cover so much more, but I know we're going to have more interactions in the near future. We've got some really cool things happening behind the scenes. it's been great to get your insight into a lot of goings on, even though I am aware of a lot of it, but the value that you bring to the world, and it's been just snippeted down into this. Any listeners or viewers out there who want to check out more of Clint's work, please check out all his links in the socials. You got one last message for the listeners or the viewers out there before we finish up?
Never give up on your dreams.
That's original as anything, man.
I made that up myself.
Of course. It's so true, but thank you very much, Clint. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this edition of the Wildman Revolution podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, people. Share it out there. Get it out there. Men doing great things in the world. Clint X, you're one of them. Catch you later.
Thanks, brother.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's